Thanks. I like the idea, Dakota, that it's work, but it also feels like play. And I think finding something where you feel like you get to play at work is a way to really find that satisfaction. So our third question, I've just put it in the chat here. It speaks to how there are still a lot of outdated stereotypes about the manufacturing and trades sector, stereotypes like the workplaces are dirty and dangerous, and that it's a field that's a better fit for men. And we'd like to ask if you've encountered stereotypes like these, either in your education or in your career, and how you've overcome them. And Emily, if you could kick that off for us. Give you just a second to take that off mute.
There we go. Sorry.
Perfect.
I found it. So the stereotypes are somewhat true, not always. So where I work at Pacific Cast, and I was at Selmet for 11 years. Radiography and also the wax assembly departments majority are females. And then maybe we have a couple welders here and there and a couple grinders that are female. So it is mostly men still, and I'm not quite sure if I'm the right person to ask why that is, if it's the employers that don't want to hire the women, or is it the women that don't want to do those jobs? And it might be a little bit of both, so I'm not exactly sure. But as far as they can't not do the job. So with radiography, I would say even maybe 80% of us are all females in my department at both Selmet and Pacific Cast. And there are females there that have been working and reading radiography for over 20 years. So it's really nothing new. Women have been in manufacturing for decades now, so it shouldn't be a stereotype that people aren't used to by now, I would think. I don't know if that's the rest of the question or not. I forgot the other half. But that's my take on it.
That's great. Thanks, Emily. Kelly, you want to take that for us next?
Which Kelly?
Goforth. Thank you.
Sorry. I'll build that they're definitely both in my education in engineering school and when I started, especially maintenance, it primarily was male dominated. Through my different roles that I've had in manufacturing, there aren't as many women, especially in leadership. And there's been many times that I'm the only woman in the room for many meetings. That's pretty normal. But as far so some of that I think that that's true. I've experienced that. The piece around the stereotypes with dirty or unsafe, especially working in food manufacturing, it's not that way at all. It's very clean. And it's actually really fun to give people tours and to show people, well, pre-COVID anyway, where we would give tours, that no, like this is much cleaner than your kitchen. And we do way more intensive cleaning and checks to make sure that we're ensuring food safety. So that part is fun to highlight, and as well as safety. Different manufacturers have different philosophies, but we have very much of the culture and the mindset that safety, our people's safety, comes first and foremost before anything else, and not really building that proactive culture with our employees is something that is very important to me. So that part I feel really good about, that people are going home safe. How I overcame, especially some of those stereotypes, or I was very lucky early on in my career to connect with female mentors and to have people, at least connections, that people were either women that were in roles that were something that I was aspiring to, or just that they could help provide some additional connection for me. And so I think that having that visibility and that in that connection has really made a difference in my career. And that's one of the things that I do try to help make sure that I then give back to people that I see that are that maybe are the only women in the room, as well, and that I'm supporting them and letting them know that, look, here's some ways that you can handle it. Here's some different ways that you can that you might feel uncomfortable, but here's some, I don't know, coping techniques of sorts. So but also I can say that I feel like it's changing and that there's sorry, I don't know what happened. Hopefully you heard most of that.
We heard you, I think, wrapping up where you were just beginning to comment to how you think culture is beginning to change.
Yes. Okay, good. Yes. And I'm curious to see what the other folks what their experiences have been.
Thanks, Kelly. Lena?
So my stereotypes are probably a lot maybe different than people who work actually in manufacturing. I don't tend to like to be told no. So if I get told that I can't do something, then I'm going to figure out how I can work around that and get it done anyways. So my boss is on the call. He's gonna love to hear that. But what I have found is that working in the role I work in and needing a master's degree to be in this role, I've found it hard intermixing with people in the trades because many of them don't have that high of an education, so they think I'm overeducated and an idiot occasionally. And so I get a lot of talked down to, or like made to feel like I'm not welcome in those realms. So I've had to really put 10 times, I think, the effort into learning the regulations and the restrictions and the bully codes and all of the OARs and the ORSs and the particulars about it. I am by no means an electrician. I have no concept whatsoever to be a machinist. I've welded, but it's not that great. And mechatronics, I don't know anything about, any of that. I think the people in those fields are amazing because they can do it. But I've had to learn like little bits and pieces so I can at least hold a conversation and not sound like the dummy in the room because I don't know that sort of thing. So my role in putting people in that field is more institutional and educational. So I have to understand the education side, but I also have to understand the restrictive Bureau of Labor and Industries and apprenticeship requirements, and and I'm kind of down to earth, and I say things like they generally just come out of my mouth, however they come out of my mouth. But I tend to be able to intermix in different groups. A lot of times I'll get a feel before I start spewing, normalcies, or I'll be a little more reserved if I'm at a Oregon State Apprenticeship Council meeting where I have to go and appear in front of the council. So, I'm a chameleon, I suppose. But stereotypes, as far as that goes, I've seen my girls, and I say that term loosely because I'm so proud of them in the choices they've made. I've got 3 electrical apprentices that are female. I've got 1 millwright apprentice that's a female. And so my numbers are really small. And I'm, working towards trying to make other people see that, this is an awesome field to get into. You don't always get dirty. Sometimes you get dirty, but I like to get dirty. So, I'm okay with that. I think it's cool. And, they're so knowledgeable about what they do when they come out, and who isn't totally impressed by somebody who is an expert in their field. So I can sit and talk to these people and learn all about what they do. And it's like talking a completely foreign language, but I'm impressed that they know what they're talking about. And so the stereotypes, like I said, I don't let too many people tell me what I can and can't do. So I try to instill that in the people that I meet and help them figure out that you know, just because your dad didn't let you, you know, weld when you were little like me, you know, that's a boy's thing, you know, it's supposed to be a boy thing. So of course I grew up a long time ago, and hopefully that's changed.
That's great. Thank you. Lots of nice comments in the chat if you haven't seen those as we go through here. Dakota? There we go.
There. I luckily haven't faced a whole lot of like the stereotypes, at least not like in your face types. Like I haven't had guys come up to me and say, hey, you can't be here, you're a girl. But in my high school shop class, there was one boy that would constantly pick on me. And it really wasn't that terribly long ago, but like, you know, the office staff was always just, oh, boys will be boys. He probably likes you. Terrible things to say to a high school student. And then when I made it into college, I was terrified. It was like, oh no, they're all going to be the same way. And I'm going to be the only girl and nobody's going to stand up for me. And all the guys in that class loved me. Like I had 4 new dads in that class. Teachers loved me. If I needed help, they would help me. Like they were so supportive throughout the entire thing. It was much easier to get through and look for a job, knowing that, hey, not everybody's going to say, hey, you can't do this. So then in the, when I was looking for a job, one of my interviews, like my first interview, the interviewer didn't really seem like he wanted to be there. He kind of acted like he could have, his time could have been spent better elsewhere, which was a little off-putting. But, you know, he mentioned that I'd be the only girl and that the guys weren't gonna, you know, treat me like I was some special person because I was a girl. And it's like, okay, as long as they treat me like a person, I don't care. And he commented, you know, it's really dirty. You might have to work overtime. You might have to work nights. And it's like, okay, I'm kind of okay with that. I kind of knew what I was getting into when I took the class. Except, you know, I was a lot nicer to him about it. I never got a call back there, which probably a good thing. I've heard from other people that it's not great. And then the job I have was my second interview. And so they were very nice in the interview. The boss made an offhand comment, and if I was tough with him, I'd have called him on it, and I didn't. But he made the comment that they had had one other woman work there. She actually graduated a year ahead of me from the program. And they had had her work there for a short amount of time. And he said that because it didn't work out well with her, that they were very hesitant hiring another female. And it was kind of at the time, it was like, well, have you never had any trouble with the guys then? Because you seem to hire a lot of them. But like I said, I didn't say anything then because I was kind of soft and weenie. But, you know, having worked with all of them for 6 years, I am pretty safe to tell them all off now. I had a little bit of trouble with one of the guys, but I don't think that it was actually like based on gender. He just kind of had, you know, he had a bug. He was not being very nice. But I think that it got as bad as it did because the supervisor, even though he does really great, he, I think, was just kind of like, oh, she's being, you know, sensitive, or, you know, just probably conditioned to think, you know, all these girl traits, sensitive, dramatic. So nothing really got better with the harassment until I told them that I was quitting. And they backtracked real quick and gave me a raise and told them to stop talking to me. So they're not allowed to talk to me anymore. And I got more money out of it. So, I mean, it's kind of a lot. It's also kind of not a lot. Like, it's not as bad as a lot of people have faced. But I mean, I'm pretty safe now that if anyone starts making comments, you just kind of, you know, they make a lot of comments about how I'm doing this wrong or that wrong. I got to do it that their way. But you know, you just kind of, you smirk and you walk away, and then they get all happy and then they look dramatic. And you're safe because, hey, I didn't do anything. I just did it this way and it works. So, you know, so I guess I just kind of overcome their weird little things by just kind of, okay, bye. So it works for me, at least, luckily. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Dakota. Kelly Brant.
I like got disconnected, so I was trying to get back on. So I don't know what happened. So when I very first started, when I came into the union, there was only like 6 girls in the union back then. It was a while ago, and so yeah, there was some nicknames like Princess Chloride, and you know, she'll never make it. They were putting bets on how long I'd make it in this role. A lot's changed since then, but I definitely experienced some of that. Also, when I started doing ultrasonics, most of ultrasonics was done on the pipeline. And so there wasn't a lot of girls that had gone into ultrasonics. So after I actually got my certification, I actually had one of the girls from upstairs come down to me and say they messed up my paperwork, that I had taken this job in ultrasonics, and girls don't go in that position. So yeah, there was a couple things that I had ran into, a lot better now than what it was then, but I did. As far as being dirty, we have for what we do, we have a pretty clean facility. We have a world record, you know, scorecard that we keep track of for our safety scorecard. And we thrive on having a very clean environment. You can't make a quality product if you don't have a clean atmosphere for that material. So we do focus a lot on that. Also, as we went into lean manufacturing and continuous improvement, being clean is one of the foundational pieces of that. So definitely improvement, but I mean, huge cleanness. And you know, when you walk through, it's not like, oh yeah, it's gross or it's not clean. It's actually pretty good.
Thanks, Kelly. I just put a note in the chat that if you've got, I think we've got a slow connection probably across the town today, but feel free to turn off your camera to save a bandwidth. That may help. Good notes around some of those pieces about stereotypes, and sounds like some good strategies, and you know, the importance of mentorship, you know, for building community and support. It's really important. Our next question here is about opportunities for women in manufacturing and trades, and a lot of young women aren't aware of those opportunities. So what do you all think can be done to spread the word about career options in these fields to young women? And this is something that Chris and I in particular are interested in, because this is work that we're doing to try to reach young women and let them know what the opportunities are out there. So what are some strategies that could make that effort more successful? And Emily, I'm gonna start with you.
So as far as younger women, and I've been through quite a bit as a teenager and a young adult myself, and trying to find my way and be more of an adult. My mom raised us kids too to be hard workers, and we had that instilled in us. So for me to jump into the manufacturing, because I'm used to the hard work more. And I think younger women, it's not an easy job. It's not a relaxing job. It is hard work, but it's fun work at the same time too. And it is not a whole lot of schooling involved. Um, if you like to get your hands dirty, it is it is a dirty place. I'm not gonna lie. It's dirty and it's dangerous both. But honestly, I think I got injured more as a hairdresser cutting my fingers every other day than I ever did working with titanium. So there is that. But it is a great job and the people are awesome to work with. And there's more than enough hours. You're never going to, run out of work. And with aerospace, before COVID hit, it was booming. Right now we're taking a pretty hard hit, but it's gonna recoup and recover, and it's gonna go back, and we're gonna have more and more work for decades to come. So for younger women that are looking to make some good money and have a fun career, probably it might be hard to learn first, but when you get it, it's like second nature. It's
Thanks, Emily. I can't tell if Emily was done or if she was cut off from the connection. I see a couple people are popping back in because they've been booted off. Kelly Goforth, could you go next, please? If you're available.
My connection is kind of long right now. I really appreciate the men that Chris did. Sorry, I don't know if
No, it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay, Kelly. A lot of people are starting to get back, but a bunch of people got booted off.
Okay.
It's our world now, unfortunately. So it's nobody's fault. It's just, we could blame Comcast, maybe. I don't know. Somebody.
So what I was saying is we really appreciate the connection, especially like for high school kids, that you provide to be able, like, even just some of the tours and just being able to highlight manufacturing, but also internships and apprenticeships have been really helpful as well. To kind of build on, I think Emily was talking, we're hiring right now. We're super busy, and so if anybody's looking for a job.
Without videos, so I don't have to be on video. It just shows like a little, like one of these things.
Sorry, we keep breaking up a lot.
Yeah, I think
Sorry,
we all keep getting kicked off and trying to scramble to get back on. Where are we in the process?
I was just finishing saying that I'm hiring.
Yes.
I'm done. So if anybody wants it, I'm looking for general labor, but also operator, like more skilled positions, and we are always hiring mechanics. So yeah. So if anybody's interested, I would love to talk to you.
Thanks, Kelly. That's a great plug. I wonder if we want to take a moment here, especially considering the connectivity issues we're having, and we're down to our last 10 minutes or so. For folks who are able to and have any questions, if you want to go ahead and put those in the chat here, we'll just pause for a moment and see what questions we have.
Lena just threw in a question for you, Kelly, that she has some apprentices who are losing their jobs soon, and can she have them? Oh, and you're answering over the chat, so that's okay. I want to thank everyone for coming and being so patient. This is our third one we've done this week, and we've had not one issue with any of it, and so it's just bad luck more than anything. Which, but I hope that all of you, the speakers today, I'd love to connect with you and maybe do something again that we can record and kind of put as like an appendix to this presentation, so we can kind of fully get what you're saying, because I think what you've shared is so important for all of us to know, and it's important for employers to know, it's important for educators to know, and I really want to get this out to kids who are considering these careers, and also to people who are working in the industry, to know that some of this stuff still goes on, like what Dakota was talking about. I really appreciate your perspective, Dakota, and even having the courage to talk about it in a group setting like this is so good, and just shows how strong you are. And you're also such great role models for all of us. So just wanted to express that to you today.
Yeah, absolutely. Knowledge is power, and it's a real win-win for our region when people are made better aware of what the opportunities are. It's good for everyone. We've got another question here from Tracy. Just an open question: what fields are expanding now and in the future? Question around job growth opportunities. What fields are seeing that growth now? Anyone wants to chime in on that one?
I will. I've had a lot of electrical apprentices being put on. So we've got limited energy, which is low voltage, 100 to 100. It's below 100 amperes, and then we've got high voltage, which is over 100 amperes. And we teach to industrial high voltage and limited energy electrical. So we've had a lot of both of those coming and going, and we've also had some millwrights that have been being put on. The other ones, seem to be a little slower in getting going, but those stay pretty strong and steady. However, there's been a couple of businesses that have shut their doors, and there's a couple that are planning on shutting their doors. So I've got in those same two fields apprentices who are just shy of journeying out that, generally need that couple hundred extra hours to test for their license, or just a couple thousand hours to finish their license. So it's kind of up and down, and you really don't know, but it depends on really the industry. Aerospace seems to be taking a big hit. I'm sure Kaylee Brant knows about that. So we've got a couple of those manufacturers who are letting people go because they're having to close their doors or minimize their workforce. And then we've got other ones who are expanding. So we've got a lot of security companies and low voltage who are expanding and adding to their workforce. So it's kind of dependent on what direction you go.
Thanks.
I know that welding and fabrication is another big one that there's a huge demand for, and we can't seem to hire enough people to do that. And, talking to some of the welders on the floor, they love it when girls come in. They say girls have steadier hands, they can draw a better bead, it's so having women in welding is huge, and that's a field that we really need people.
I also understand that, in a emerging field, a lot of job opportunities upcoming is in cybersecurity, and that I think LB is rolling out a program to meet that need. So it's interesting, you can see this market response right in real time, and then the way that our region responds as well. But for obvious reasons, cybersecurity is one that's increasing in importance in this day and age.
And Sarah brings up a really great point about our region responding. That's originally how Pipeline began, because of the need for places like OFD and what Kelly mentioned at ATI and other places not having, people applying for jobs that had no experience welding, just the lack of welders, the lack of tradespeople to fill those positions. And then, that startup Pipeline helping get that's what initiated LBCC getting these areas like mechatronics, and Kelly can attest to, Kelly Goforth from OFD can totally attest to that, because we've seen people go through that mechatronics program who started out at entry-level positions and now are working on the packaging lines and fixing those robots. There's a gentleman named Mitch who has a little video about that, and he's like an icon in that area, because he's just such a testimonial to that, and that. But our region has been historically known to respond to that, because we have a great community college here, and we have great partnerships where you're able to see business partner with education, and that just doesn't happen anywhere. Please don't take that for granted. What we've got going on here and now with the STEM Hub and the merger of Pipeline and the STEM Hub is a region that is able to partner and work together, and we're able to do things that a lot of regions can't do. So we're pretty blessed to have that here and to be able to do this work. And I threw in the chat about our advisory committee. We're looking for voices and for people of some diversity as well to get on these committees to help us with grants. We're lucky to have some funding to give out grants to teachers and community-based organizations, where we're trying to do exactly what we're doing with a discussion like today, is to build awareness, get girls involved, get people of color involved, get rural kids involved who don't ever come over here into Albany to be able to see places like OFD and region and things like that. So that's what we want on our advisory committee. Please consider that, check that out, and let Sarah and I know, because we'd love to get you involved.
Okay, we're down to just the last couple of minutes. If there are any final questions, we could probably take one more. Okay, all right. Well, we will make sure to share out a link to this recording so that folks who couldn't attend are able to hear the conversation. Thank you everyone so much. Thank you to our panelists and everyone who joined in for great questions and conversation. And thank you all for the work that you do every day.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.